It started with a teacup, small, simple, ceramic. The kind offered to guests in meetings, the kind that carries respect and silence. But this one almost carried death. President Ibrahim Traoré was in a private meeting at a military base outside Ouagadougou. Just a quiet gathering of senior officers and advisors to discuss logistics for an upcoming operation in the east. Calm, casual, nothing unusual. They sat in a circle under a mango tree. Cups of warm spiced tea were passed around by a soldier in plain uniform. Traoré took the cup with a smile, nodded in thanks, but paused. He didn't sip. His eyes flicked toward the server. A new face, young, nervous. He held the cup gently, like it was glass. Across the circle, Colonel Yahya Khanate, known for his sharp mind and cold eyes, sipped quickly, almost too eagerly. He looked at the president and said, "Please drink, sir. The tea is fresh." But Traoré didn't move. He smiled. Slowly, he placed the cup on the small wooden table beside him. The air shifted slightly, not enough for most to notice. But Captain Zongo, sitting in the back, saw the signal. Traoré had trained with wolves. He knew how betrayal smelled. Earlier, inside the palace, Traoré had received an anonymous tip, a note left on his desk. *, watch your tea. Today, they will test your trust. *, no name, no clue, just that warning. He didn't ignore it. He stuck to the schedule, traveled to the base, sat among men he'd known for years, and waited. As the untouched cup sat between them, something was very wrong. Traoré looked at Colonel Khanate and said, "You know, I always find it interesting. How many things can hide inside something as small as a cup?" Khanate gave a tight smile. "That's the beauty of tea, sir." "Or the danger," Traoré replied. He stood slowly, and the tone of the meeting changed. Everyone froze. The air turned thick. The birds nearby went silent, as if waiting. Traoré didn't raise his voice or pull rank. He asked, quiet but sharp, "Colonel, do you trust the people who poured this tea?" Khanate blinked. His lips tightened. "Of course, Mr. President." "Good," Traoré said. He pointed to the untouched cup. "Then, please drink mine." The aide reached for it, confused. Khanate's eyes widened. "No, wait," he said quickly. "We don't want to mix cups. There could be hygiene." Traoré raised his hand. "Hygiene, Colonel? Or poison?" The circle went silent. You could hear the wind brushing the trees. Khanate tried to recover. "Mr. President, I assure you no one here would." But Traoré was already walking away. He pulled out a walkie-talkie and spoke 2 words, "Bring him." Within seconds, 2 soldiers escorted the young tea server, hands tied, looking terrified. One of Traoré's bodyguards placed a pouch on the table. Inside, a tiny vial found in the server's sock, labeled VXT42, a slow-acting neurotoxin, colorless, tasteless, enough to kill within minutes. Traoré turned to the officers. "I've led soldiers into battles and buried brothers in war, but this betrayal from inside our house is worse than any enemy." He looked at Khanate. "You invited me here. You arranged the tea, and you told me to drink first." Khanate stood, pale. "This is madness." But Captain Zongo was already moving. Khanate was surrounded. Traoré stepped closer. "Did you think I wouldn't feel it, Colonel? You think I made it this far by drinking every cup handed to me?" Khanate said nothing. Traoré leaned in. "Men like you don't want power to serve. You wanted to sell." Then he gave the order, "Take him in." No public arrest, no show, just silence. As Khanate was led away, the officers sat in disbelief. The poison had failed. The message was clear. The lion had been tested and did not blink. Back at the palace, Khanate was locked in a cold underground room. He denied everything, claimed he was framed. But Traoré believed in evidence, not shouting matches. Zongo walked into the interrogation room with a black notebook found in the tea server's bag. He flipped it open, showing Khanate. "This is your handwriting." We checked. Inside were coded names, meeting dates, payment lists, including a large transaction days before the poisoning. One name appeared repeatedly, Le Chacal, the Jackal. Traoré, watching from behind the mirror, asked his aide, "Have we heard this name before?" The aide nodded. "Yes, sir. It came up in an intercepted call 3 months ago, linked to foreign intel." Traore's expression hardened. So this goes beyond Khanate. This was no lone wolf. That evening, Traore called a silent emergency meeting with his most trusted men, Zongo, 2 counterintelligence officers, and a civilian cyber expert. They gathered in the underground war room. Zongo laid the notebook on the table. This name, Le Chacal, he's the handler. The soldier was a tool. Khanate was the delivery system. Traore nodded. We need the source. The cyber expert connected phone records, digital trails, satellite pings. Most lines were wiped clean, but one message stood out, sent from a burner phone used once. For the cup tomorrow, he will see nothing. It was sent from a location near the French consulate in Ouagadougou. Zongo looked up. So he's still here. Traore folded his arms. If he's hiding in this city, we're not hunting a ghost. We're hunting a man. The hunt began. The cyber expert traced the burner phone signal to a luxury apartment in Ouagadougou 2000, an upscale area for diplomats and contractors. The building had no hallway cameras, too convenient. Whoever this jackal is, Zongo said, he has protection. Traore leaned over the table. Then we don't search like soldiers. We smoke him out like a thief. Operation Glass I was approved. No uniforms, no sirens, just shadows watching shadows. Watchers disguised as cleaners, fruit sellers, and delivery boys surrounded the apartment block. A soldier posing as a repairman planted tiny cameras in vents. On day 3, they saw him, a tall, pale-skinned man with a sharp jaw, dark glasses, and a hat. He didn't match embassy staff, but had a key to apartment 3B, the phone signal's location. He was careful, never leaving at the same time, never using the same car twice. But he made one mistake. He ordered food. Traore smiled. Good. Let's deliver it ourselves. Zongo, dressed as a delivery man, carried a listening device. When the door opened, the man stared coldly, paid in cash, and closed it. But the device recorded his voice and movements. Software matched it to Alexander Morel, a retired French intelligence officer known as Le Chacal. Arresting him wasn't simple. No diplomatic badge, but a public capture could spark international outcry. A raid risked his escape, Traore thought, then said, let's give him what he wants. Zongo raised an eyebrow. Sir, tell him I'm holding a private dinner. Invite only. He'll try again. Zongo nodded. And when he comes? Traore's eyes narrowed. We end it. The trap was set. Traore announced a quiet, high-level dinner at the presidential villa. No press, no public list. Word spread just enough for Morel to hear. Zongo's team watched apartment 3B. They didn't see Morel leave, but his phone activated, a new burner, pinging a message across the city. Another attempt was coming. Inside the palace kitchen, counterintelligence officers replaced the catering team. Every utensil, dish, and cup was checked. Microphones were hidden under the table, in vases and salt shakers. At 7:30 p.m., the dinner began. For loyal guests, aware of the mission, sat with Traore, who wore a modest tunic, not a target's uniform. Zongo monitored from the surveillance room. No breach detected. Then, a waiter appeared with a drink tray, not one of their men. Zongo froze. Who is that? The cameras zoomed in. The man's right hand trembled slightly. He set the tray down and stepped back. Traore raised his glass, but didn't drink. He looked the man in the eye. Would you like to share a drink with your president? The man hesitated. Traore stood. You've been running a long time, Alexander, but you made one mistake. The room moved instantly. Guards burst in. The man reached for a pin in his sleeve, something sharp, but Zongo pinned him to the floor. No gun, Traore said. Just poison again? You thought the same trick would work twice. Morel, Le Chacal, looked up, his face tight with rage. You've made enemies you cannot fight, he hissed. Traore crouched beside him. I'm not fighting them. I'm outliving them. He gave the command. Fly him out tonight to the deepest cell. No press, no parade. This is a message. Across the city, nothing looked different, but a second attempt on the president's life had failed. The man behind it was caught, silenced. But Traore wasn't finished. He knew this wasn't just about poison or politics. It was a warning. Someone out there was willing to kill for power. The silence after the storm was louder than the storm. No announcements, no leaks. Le Chacal vanished into a hole the world would never find. But Traore knew the danger hadn't passed. The next morning, he sat alone in his office, holding the same ceramic cup, now washed clean, but heavy with meaning. He thought of the young soldier who carried the poison, of Connate, once honorable, now in chains, and of the millions who trusted him, without knowing how close he came to death. Then came a knock. Captain Zongo. "Sir, the military academy is ready for your address." Traore nodded. That afternoon, he walked into the courtyard of Burkina Faso's National Military Academy. Hundreds of cadets stood in formation. They'd heard whispers of something dangerous, but didn't know the truth. Traore stood on the stage, no notes, just a microphone. "Some of you may not understand the weight of the uniform you wear," he began. "You think it gives power, but it gives responsibility." He raised the cup. "This cup almost ended my life, not because of the tea, but because of the trust one placed in the wrong hands." The cadets froze, some with wide eyes, others clenching fists. "You will guard this nation," he continued. "But guarding, it isn't just about guns. It's about honor, knowing when to say no, even when money or pressure comes from abroad." He looked across the young faces. "I didn't survive because I'm clever. I survived because I never forgot one truth. A nation is only as strong as the loyalty of its lowest guard." He turned to Zongo, raised the cup, and placed it on a stone pedestal beside the academy flag. "This is no longer a symbol of death. It is a symbol of survival. Let it remind you that even the smallest item can carry betrayal or courage. Choose what you carry." The cadets saluted, some wiping tears. That evening, Traore sat on the palace rooftop, watching the sunset. He knew this wouldn't be the last attempt. There would be more jackals, more poison. But each time, they would find the lion waiting, not because he wanted war, but because he was ready to die, standing rather than live kneeling. The cup remained, not in a museum or his home, but in the hands of the next generation, a symbol of vigilance, survival, and one man's refusal to be broken.